Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Greetings, race fans, and welcome to Apex Racing TV's presentation of the Radical Esports Cup. J.R. Gregory here on the call, and a hearty welcome back to my partner, Tom Dillon, beside me here in the commentary booth. And as always, our friend and colleague, Joshua Wilkie, is in the production facility, pushing your buttons and twisting your knobs. The star of today's show, the Radical SR10, 425 horsepower, 725 kilos. That is close to power to weight ratio of an LMP2 car, believe it or not. No traction control, no anti-lock brakes. And folks, we are showing the top split of the public server here, Friday 2100 GMT, as we do every week. So this is not a league event or a private event. If you would like to try your hand at these radicals and appear with us here on Apex Racing TV, sign up and give these cars a whirl. They are a handful, but as I tell you every week, mastery of the SR10 will make you better at every car that you drive, and there's still plenty of good action left here this season. Upcoming tracks will include Sebring, Road America, and put an asterisk by this one, folks, Nordschleife, the Green Hell under the stars. That one is going to be fantastic. But here we are in week 9 at Barber Motorsports Park, opened outside Birmingham, Alabama in 2003, famous for a 230,000 square foot vintage motorsport museum, iconic metal sculptures scattered around the course that we'll see during the course of our coverage here today. Past host to Rolex Sports Car Series, AMA Superbikes, and of course current host to the fantastic IndyCar Grand Prix of Alabama. If you haven't tuned into that one, always watch IndyCars at Barber. It is a riot. Today's configuration, 2.38 miles, 3.83 clicks, 16 corners, and the current record here is a 106.8 by Patricio, probably saying that wrong, Award in a DW12 IndyCar. So Tom, again, welcome back. Great to hear your voice here this afternoon, and my goodness, I got to throw down some laps in these radicals out here at Barber today, and it was awesome. This track kind of harkens to some of the tracks over at the UK, like Oulton Park, that these radicals are really good at, with the hills and high speed, medium to high speed, sweeping corners, and this track is no different. The radicals, an absolute hoot here. The one trouble spot, we're watching my cousin Craig Gregory right now coming out of that slow turn 5 complex. That was the one part that got a little iffy, is putting down power smoothly coming out of that low speed second gear corner. But yeah, really looking forward to today's race. And what do you think we're going to see out of these drivers today?
I think we're going to see a challenge. This is a typical national American circuit, JR, in that it's very tight, it's very twisty, and there's not a lot of room to overtake. Lots of medium speed corners as well, so very difficult for the drivers. And by the way, JR is joking when he says Craig Gregory's his cousin. He absolutely had me and producer Josh when we were in the green room. We totally believed him, so viewers, do not be fooled. At the moment, we have got Harald Gullisken at the top of the order. He's only 0.2 of a second faster than James Barry. We're on board with Thomas McAlpine, making his way through the uphill chicane. And I have to say, I do like IndyCars on him, despite the fact, I find this with a lot of American circuits like this, despite the fact that it's very tight, it's very twisty, you can actually overtake on it. It's not impossible.
Yeah, and should be a good one. And my goodness, look at Gullikson throwing down the gauntlet here with that 1:17.12 that you pointed out. And speaking of Gullikson, he has kind of appeared out of nowhere and broken into the top 10. So as qualifying winds down here, let me run through those names with you now. P1 still James Barry, our multiple past champion of the Radical Esports Cup and the Radical Racing Challenge before that, maintains his top spot on the season. His teammate Andreas Friedrich right behind him in P2. So those guys putting on a strong team showing, sweeping the top two positions there. Lasse Sorensen will be in P3, and the aforementioned Harald Gullikson jumps all the way up into the top 10 to appear in P4. He'll knock Bruto Vitorino down out of that position, who now sits in P5. Dennis Karakopoulos there in P6. Jorge Gonzaga in 7. Sali Raitanen in P8, and in P9, Heinz Braun has jumped Kettle Larson for that position, and Larson relegated to P10. So as you look on our grid today, Tom, you can see a number of those names joining us here for our Apex Racing TV broadcast. So safe to say we have some of the best Radical esports racers in the world here putting on a show for us for our 2100 GMT broadcast. So really looking forward to that. And a good point, I think, about the overtakes. And there's one place in particular as we go into that turn 7 complex. It's a little miniature kind of corkscrew, and it's a heavy braking area and certainly is inviting. But once you get side by side with somebody on that entry, it gets quite complicated. And a passing opportunity, what looks like a passing opportunity, can turn into disaster there fairly easily because the track is so tight. But we will get the grid up here for you in a moment. And there it is. Gullikson hangs on to that pole position. So he will be starting in P1 with James Barry, the provisional season champ so far, next to him in P2. Mats Gestrombach in there in P3 next to Friedrich. Heinz Braun next to Lasse Sorensen there in row 3. Dennis Karakopoulos in 7 with Gonzaga next to him in P8. Felix Samoas in 9, Gabriel Berger next to him in P10, John Kudalin in P11, my cousin Craig Gregory in P12, and bringing up there Menendegraaff next to McAlpine, and Norman Baumgartner and Michael Bachlick will be in 15 and 16. So as we prepare to grid here, looks like, that is going to be Gullikson in the green car there on your right. He will have the inside line into turn 1. And remember, folks, no pace lap and no traction control on these cars. So they got to get off the line using the clutch in a very peaky turbo-powered car with no TC and icy cold tires. So these cars can be tough to get off the line. So that will be the first thing we'll be looking for. Can they get off the line clean? And what will happen in that off-camber blind entry into turn 1? And here we are riding along with Gullikson, and we are green underway, and Gullikson gets a good launch and looks like Barry bogged down a little bit. Friedrich is going to blow right by him. Barry's going to lose another spot and another Barry plummeting down through the order like he's dragging an anchor. My goodness, very tough start for Barry. Side-by-side action here going through the initial part of the track. And this spot right here, we'll watch throughout the day. The cars get very light right there. You got to be ready to catch them if that rear end starts to come around. And here we go on the entry to turn 5. This is 5A, B, and C. The turn 5 kind of hairpin complex there. And a very clean start here at Barber. Cars still streaming through side by side as we take this run up to turn 7, that mini corkscrew complex I mentioned for the first time today. And these laps are going to fly by, folks. So we're going to get a lot of laps here at Barber.
Looks like it's been a good start for Hervard Gullisken, then Andreas Frederick getting past James Barry up into second position, but not really able to put that pressure on the lead just yet. Look at this gap, it's already up to a second and over a second. Everyone else sort of streaming through, not seeing too many overtakes just yet. Everyone getting into their rhythm a little bit, potentially a bit of a move. We can see 2 cars ahead of this track. This is Michael Boglett. Bernard de Graaf is on his own. Craig Gregory and Jan Tor Kredalen then having a bit of a battle at this point in the race. Lap times on the screen. Lap 2 of 18, 1 minute 22.9. Gullisken at the moment is about a second faster. That is an off, and that is not for Jan Tor Kredalen as he's under pressure now from that 13 car of Menno de Graaf. That's frustrating at this early stage.
And Kidalin demonstrating why we do not want to go wide coming out of turn 1. We're going to ride along with him and hang on to your dentures and your glasses here, folks. Just a little drift wide here, and he thinks, oh, there's asphalt out here, I'll be fine. Whoa! Over the jump and almost collects another one of his competitors there. And not to give him too hard of a time, I have done that in a GT3 car, and you really do kind of feel safe lollygagging back onto the track, but there is a huge berm there, as you saw, and Gullikson still working on that gap. It's Gullikson from Friedrich, from Barry, your top 3, and that gap from Gullikson to Friedrich still maintaining about 1 second. And looks like Barry may be reeling in his teammate now. Friedrich, yeah, here we are riding along with Barry, and he's got that gap down to about 0.4 after really bogging down off the line. He lost more positions than the one that you're seeing now and managed to fight back immediately. He probably fell to P5 in the first couple of corners, but fought back into the podium position. And we've seen this before. Barry is going to ride along behind Friedrich. He's doubtful to press him right now. He'll just save his tires and take it easy and see what Friedrich can do about closing down that gap to Gullikson, who really has lit the wick and has easily leading now from pole.
Unless, of course, James Barry fancies his chances at trying to chase for the lead of the race, in which case you would expect him to start to put that pressure on James Barry. We had one comment in the YouTube chat from Jingles McGee, who said turn 4, the only real overtaking opportunity, that is the hairpin. Maybe James Barry sizing that up. Well, here he goes into one of the final corners on the track, and again stays just behind Andreas Frederick. So I fancy you might be right here, JR. He doesn't really want to start to battle here. Maybe James Barry is happy to just stay where he is. Frederick looking pretty good at this point in the race, but no one looking as good, of course, as our race leader. 1 minute 17.8, his best lap. We'll see if that changes over the line. Anyone could go faster. I think there was an offer moment for Gonzaga there. 117.3. So pace well and truly being set by our race leader.
Yeah, and my timing tower telling me that we lost de Graaf here, and looks like we got a replay of a little off here, and got a high speed, really nice left-right chicane. That's one of the great features of Barber here, and one of the really fun things about this track, Tom, I don't know if you got a lot of time out here, but it's really kind of diabolically designed. It's one of those tracks where in multiple places you really have to commit to apex that you can't see because it's around the corner, over a rise or similar. So really exciting stuff here. And as we're back watching Gullikson from Friedrich from Barry, and Gullikson is stretching that lead. And you're right, Tom. I got to think that if Barry thinks he's got a better shot at Gullickson than Friedrich, we may see those two teammates swapping places here in the very near future. Lap 8 now of, or lap 4 now of 18 with 14 to go. Plenty of time left, but you don't want to let Gullickson get too far away here. And there's a car off in the weeds there, off of, looks like they're out of turn 3. And watching Berger here. Oh, a little over rotation there. Yikes. And pirouetting into the thankfully grippy new iRacing grass, or he would have been in the Armco there for sure. And that's another tough spot. It's a long decreasing radius right-hander. It relies on trail braking and a lot of risk taking. And here we are back watching Barry all over Friedrich. And boy, I don't know, Tom, how much longer is he going to wait?
I don't know, because they're under pressure now, aren't they, from the guy just behind them, which is, well, I'm going to try and pronounce that name, I apologise, just from Bracken, I believe. Here's a pass on Frederick then, or an attempted pass at least from James Barry. Let's wait and see what happens here. Goes to the inside line. In fact, he gets himself into second position, so down the inside goes James Barry, and into the lead of the race. That almost looked like Frederick let him through. There's a little bit of tactics there. He certainly didn't defend the inside as much as he could, JR. I'm wondering if there was some tactics involved there.
Yeah, Friedrich leaving the door open for Barry, and my goodness, look at that gap now. Gullickson has got to be loving his relative 2 seconds back to Barry, and we'll see if Barry can wind down on Gullickson. And as you mentioned, Tom, well, here comes Justrum, Bakken, and Sorensen are now going to be sniffing around behind Friedrich. So we'll have them to worry about. And pretty tight track here, pretty tight groupings here. There's not a lot of gaps forming in the field. So we're going to be nose to tail here on this tight and challenging course, and riding along with McAlpine now on that entry to turn 5. And oh my goodness, double spinner there, maybe a one driver inspired by the other. But yeah, to get these radicals around the track fast, you do have to trail brake, and that's one of those places where if you do it just a little bit too much, a little over rotation there, downhill, off camber by the spider sculpture, and off into the web you go. So and I'm hearing that my cousin Craig is going to lose a position to Heinz Braun here in the same place. And there's the spider off in the distance. And, oh, yeah, looks like Gregory. Huh, interesting. Either moved out of the way or had a little front-end wiggle there. But there goes Braun. That'll put him up into P9, dropping my cousin Craig down to P10. And on lap 7 of 18, it's still Gullickson from Barry, from Friedrich, from Justrum, Bracken, from Sorensen. Those top 5 cars separated by about 5.5 seconds. And here we are watching Samoas looking forward at Gonzaga, and he's got that gap down to about 0.2. And I keep waiting to see somebody tempted to take a little dive on the inside of the entry to turn 7 here, and nothing yet. As you can see, it's awfully tight in there. You kind of drop into a little funnel. Very tough to go through there side by side, but that doesn't mean we're not going to see it before this one is over, only on lap 7 here. And as things heat up, people might want to roll the dice there, and it'll be interesting to see how that works out.
It'll be interesting. Jorge Gonzaga then keeping that keen eye over his shoulder on Simões. It's the 2 Portuguese drivers battling along, and well, I don't think that red car of Simões is really in a hurry here at all. Top 7 position on the line. Lap time still staying in the low 1 minute 17. That's pretty much everyone across the field, or they're all in that sort of 117 range. And I think maybe Simões, who does go almost personal best on that last lap, he's close to it anyway, just a few hundredths of a second behind the lap times that Jorge Gonzaga is doing. We've got an issue, I believe, at the back of the field for Paul Gartner. Obviously, if there's a replay of what happened there, we'll let you know. His name flashed red for a second. I'm hearing he has gotten off track, so we can have a little bit of a look at what happened here. Norman Paul Gartner then, what happened to him? He was running relatively comfortably, not particularly quickly. He's had a bit of a difficult race and just onto the curb. Car completely bottoms out on him. And again, he's pretty happy that the iRacing grass nowadays is pretty grippy.
Yeah, I actually, we're watching Baumgartner now in that 910 complex, and I actually got a little bit, oh my goodness, little taste of that in the same spot. You kind of have to kiss the curb to straighten out both of those left-right combos there on the backside of the course. And if you take just a little bit too big of a bite, these radicals don't really like having wheels off the ground, breaks the aero, and can really get them out of shape. And you saw Baumgartner wheeling off through the grass there. And great overhead shot. Look at the banking on that corner. This track is so spectacular. Really fun. And if you haven't tried this one, folks, I'd recommend that you take it for a spin. And no better way to learn this track than in this radical. It just devours these medium to high speed sweepers, the hills. It's absolute right.
And Michael Buckler's trying to attack Menno de Graaf now, making their way down the hill into a heavy braking zone. It looks the inside line. He's going to give this a go, but can't quite get to the... Oh, he can, because there's a mistake on the outside for Menno de Graaf. That is a pretty sizable mistake, just locking up those rears and, spinning around. It was such a bizarre spin. We'll keep an eye on that car just ahead. So Michael goes down the inside. It's a fantastic little dive bomb. That's exactly how you would expect to dive. And I don't even think he's locked up the rears. I think that's on throttle application.
Yeah, and boy, it sure looked like de Graaf had done a great job on the brakes, and even though he left the inside open, looked like he was going to hold position around the outside until he just lost the rear end. So almost great defense by de Graaf, and did not work out. And here we are, a little replay of Baumgartner here. Is he going to have a disagreement with one of these curbs again? And oh my goodness, yeah, that really easy to get the rear end loose on these cars on this track. A lot of off-camber stuff, a lot of trail braking, and as always, you have to be quite judicious with throttle application on these things. That turbo spins up, the power peaks, and you can light up the rears so easily on these. And a great overhead shot here as we go down the mini corkscrew here at Barber. It's Samoa's looking forward to Gonzaga. He's got that gap down to about 0.4. Spent a lot of time back there staring ahead to Gonzaga, who's currently sitting in P7. Both of those drivers have moved up one due to a couple errors by other drivers, Braun and Berger, both having problems that promoted Gonzaga and Samoa. So Samoa's has 7 laps left to make something happen here. Let's see if he starts sniffing around, or maybe he just wants to enjoy the rest of the race and take that P8 top.
Maybe, and it's difficult to keep these cars balanced for 18 laps around here. The tyres do start to fall off in the second part of that stint. We've seen that actually, not just around here, but around many of the circuits that we've raced in this Radical series. So some people just enjoying the fun of it for sure. Someone not enjoying their day particularly much is Thomas McAlpine. He's already had a spin earlier on in the race, and now we've got the back end of him having another one. Let's have a look at what happened to him then as he makes his way down the hill. Well, up the hill, I should say. Looks like he's just gone a little bit deep, gone onto the curb, and he's lost it from there. Again, the throttle application is a little bit difficult. You've raced these here, or driven these here, I should say. JR, the throttle application you said is very difficult.
It is, and it's like I said, the design of this place is somewhat diabolical, because the car lightens up in a number of places across the apex, and so it's not a flat track where you can just floor it across the apex. You have to keep in mind that the car can lighten up over some of these crests and over rotate, as you saw there. And McAlpine blowing the front suspension off of one side of that radical, and he's in the pits taking repairs having been that car. So I'm not sure if we're going to see him back. And meanwhile, still with Samoas looking forward at Gonzaga. He's really got that gap down to a couple of tenths here, and entering a potential passing zone, under braking into turn 5. Samoas shows his nose on the inside, thinks better of it, and looks like he had to check up a little bit there as he was trying to reel in Gonzaga across that apex. I don't know if Gonzaga backed out, brake checked him there, but Samoas almost gave a little kiss to the back of that Radical as they continue on. Lap 12 of 18 now. Meanwhile, up front, look at Gullickson. That gap has increased to 3 seconds. Gullickson driving away, and somehow Friedrich has fallen way off the pace. Look at that time. He's down to P5, and now Barry is sitting there with a 3-second gap ahead and another 4-second gap behind. And not sure what happened to Friedrich. We'll see if we can come up with that answer for you. But now it's Gullickson from Barry from Strumbach, 1, 2, and 3. And Friedrich may have had himself a little incident.
Potentially, we've got a replay of it. I would have thought that maybe he's just overheated his tyres and struggled, but this is suggesting that there's been an incident for Andreas Friedrich, who's the car just at the top of your picture, and there has been. He's got onto the curb and he's completely spun it. Sometimes, if you're putting the brakes on while you're hitting that curb aggressively, that it will just sort of flash around on you, and that looks like it's happened there for Andreas Friedrich. Let's watch it again, this time on board the German's car. He's gone onto the curb, he's onto the grass, hasn't he, and tried to put the brakes on.
Yeah, I think that's what happened. He just dipped a wheel there at the very end of the lap, and that's that turn 13, 14 complex. It's a long trail braking section, and he just dipped a little bit of the grass, and if you're on the brakes, the side of the car on the asphalt slows down really nicely, and the side in the grass doesn't slow down at all. That causes the car to rotate, and Friedrich plummets out of what had been a pretty good position for him. I mean, he's not, I don't doubt he's crying in the cockpit. He's still sitting in P5, but he's certainly not threatening for the lead as he was. And Gullickson, again, watching his relative, and his fortunes are just improving. Oh, and a great view. Pretty good catch by Friedrich there, and some good camera work by Josh showing us the view from Sorensen there of Friedrich over rotating that corner, and gets both Strumbach and Sorensen get a cheap one there. And you see Friedrich there in the background. He may want to try to get that back, but if he's going to make that happen, he's got to do it quick. And the Gonzaga and Samoas battle continues, and that is Heinz Braun wanting to get involved. He gets a little lock up and may have gotten a piece of Samoas there. Samoas may have been focusing on Friedrich ahead, didn't see Braun coming up. Braun is ever the opportunist, tries to stick it inside. Ooh, and does a good job avoiding there. I'm not sure if there was contact or not, but that could have been disaster for both cars, and Braun avoids that.
Oh, it was very aggressive from Braun. I think he didn't think he had that much space, and then went down the inside and wanted to get out of it at every opportunity, and eventually ran into that car. But everyone seemed to be okay. Your cousin Craig up a position. It's a 9th position. Craig Gregory, we're still on board with Felix Samoas making his way down into turn 1 in the slipstream, but Jorge Gonzaga staying where he is for now and holding on. That being said, Felix Samoas extracting a little bit more through turn 1, and now maybe actually dipping a nose in as they head down into turn 2. It's a late move, and it's going to be just about a great move by the looks of things from Felix Samoas, but still back at him here is Jorge Gonzaga. They stay side by side, the two Portuguese drivers, down into the next braking zone. It's a left-hander this time, and Gonzaga is able to squeeze his way through. Almost contact between the two of them. I'm not sure there was 100% contact between the two of them there.
Boy, great driving by both, and Gonzaga never quit, never say never. He kind of washed out of that carousel section, that turn 2 and 3 section, but stayed on the power and had the inside line going into turn 5. And Samoas on the outside looking in again. It really looked like he had something there, and these two drivers are putting on some of the best racing that we're seeing in the field today. And great work by Josh keeping us along with this one. And here is this beautiful long trail break, to set up for the critical last corner onto the front straight as we ride along with Samoas, as they are going to begin lap 16 here. So 3 laps to go. And guess what? Up front, we're still looking at a pretty substantial gap, although, well, Barry's reeling him in a little bit. Tom, looks like he's taken about a half second out of him, and needs to take and the fastest lap of the day, and needs to take in 0.5 out of that gap on each of the remaining 3 laps. Probably not likely, but we'll see what he can do.
Yeah, well, his first lap's only 400ths of a second, 4,000th of a second faster than Gulliskin, so there's not a lot in them at all at the moment, and it would be too much, I think, for Barry to start to make a challenge here. You need a few laps to set him pass, I think. It's been a fantastic drive for Havard. It's been perfect. Lights to flag. He's a 3rd seed inside of this lobby. We're actually expecting Andreas Frederick to win it. Obviously, he's had an incident at some point in this race that's taken him out of it a little bit. So Gulliskin outperforming his seeding ever so slightly. Felix Simoes, interestingly, only the 2nd seeding inside of the entire race, as James Barry, first driver into the 116s. That puts him 0.2 of a second faster than Gulliskin. Still not enough. Felix Simoes then heading on to the penultimate lap of the race, looks for the exit out of the final corner. Down into turn 1 he goes here at Barber Motorsports Park. Will there be a move here? He's once again a lot faster through that first corner, now into the long turn 2. Will he show his nose? Once again he won't, because I think Jorge Gonzaga has well, kept an eye on that move and made sure he doesn't open up the door.
Yeah, and some great high trust driving here between these 2 drivers is the kind of thing we see week in and week out in this Radical Esports Cup. And a great camera angle here, Gonzaga looking back at Samoas, as he has been throughout the entire race. I think Samoas at best has been side by side with him, but has not been able to make anything stick. So fantastic competition here between these 2, and just the kind of high quality battles that we see week in and week out of these Radical drivers. Fantastic stuff.
And, well, time running out for Suez to try and get through as well. White flag is in the air, and it's gone in the air for Gulliskin. It's actually, on my timing, they've gone, I was going to say almost identical. They haven't gone almost identical. There's a couple of hundreds between the 2 of them. I saw the 8s and the 9s, and I thought they'd gone the same, but they haven't quite. So Havard Gulliskin starting his final tour of this 2-mile or so circuit. And James Barry has reeled him in, Louis, hasn't he? It's only about a second and a half, but it's nervy, this final lap, for sure.
Yeah, it looks like Barry has broken that 117 barrier. I'm showing a best lap out of him of a 116.9, which, my goodness, that is just flying. And back with Samoas now, and now we're back with Gulliskin as he completes his final lap here at Barber. Just a couple corners to go, and a kind of insurmountable gap back to Barry of a 1.4 right now as they enter this kind of back straightaway section of the course. And jumping back now, there's Sorensen from Strumbakken from Friedrich now, and is Friedrich going to try to make something happen here at the very end? And here, oh my goodness, and oh, poor Samoas. And just as we the cameraman's curse there, just as we switched over to see what was going to happen with Samoas and Gonzaga there in the middle end of the last lap. Looks like may have been a little contact, a little bumpity bump there, and Samoas goes off. And that will put my cousin Gregory, showing that Gregory fortitude, that Gregory fight. It will be our charger. He's going to move up 4 positions into P8. And oh yeah, that may have been a little kiss there. It may have just been a little bit too much curb. And my goodness, Felix, I'm not sure what he thought he was going to be able to do with that, but not working out. And here we see, yeah, oh my goodness, that curb. Yeah, you have to kiss it. You have to be friendly with it. But if you get too friendly with it, it will slap you. And as we saw Samoas go around there. Whew, my goodness, Tom, what a race here at Barber. I was really looking forward to this one. Fantastic track with these cars, and it has lived up to my expectations, and I think Josh will have our results up here momentarily, and Tom will run through those with you.
Really entertaining race, actually, proving that it is difficult to overtake at Barber Motorsports Park, but always possible. More importantly, Havard Gulliskan takes a victory then ahead of James Barry, who did all he could to win today, not quite able to find his way up to the top step of that podium. Lasse Sorensen in third position rounds out the podium, making it 2 of 3 Norwegians on our podium. Fourth, also Norwegian, Mats Jummersbakken. Apologise if I'm completely messing up that name. Andreas Frederick, the rest of your top 5, with Dennis Kirakopoulos in 6th. Jorge Gonzaga had his work cut out to finish in 7th, with Craig Gregory getting up to 8th at the line ahead of Felix Samos having a spin on that final lap. Jan Tor Kudalen is in 10th position, rounds out your top 10. Gabriel Berger in 11th. Pretty close actually between the entire field, only a 55-second field spread, with Michael Bocklet in 12th. Heinz Braun, Menno de Graaf, the last of your lead lap runners. Norman Baumgartner and Thomas McAlpine both having very troubled races today, unfortunately. They're 15th and 16th.
All right, and I distracted myself looking at my notes for next week here. Let me take a quick look outside, see if we have anybody waiting to speak to us here. Oh, and we have a full waiting room. Let's see here. I wonder, anybody have any idea who H might be? Do you suppose it's Havard Gullikson? Yeah, I will go ahead and drag him in. And Tom, why don't you talk to him about his little track day that he had today?
Havard, welcome to this stream. That was a fantastic drive from you, and you never really had to look back in that race, but you put a little bit of pressure towards the end. How did you deal with it?
Yeah, I had a decent start, and I think the guys behind me got to fight a bit. So I was lucky to gain a couple of seconds, but it was really hard. I struggled with the tires at the end, and I was lucky to have a decent gap back to Barry.
And just how difficult were those tyres? We know that tyres have been something that the drivers have struggled with a little bit throughout the season. Was it really just a case of they did fall off that much towards the end?
Yes, if you push flat out all laps, you are in big trouble. So you have to manage and try to just find the decent speed. And yeah, but at the end, I noticed especially the rear tires was a bit too hot, I think. But yeah, doesn't matter.
Well, Havard, excuse me, I'm having a coughing fit. Thank you very much for joining us. Well done on the race. Anyone you'd like to shout out before you go?
Yes, everybody in the Radical community, of course, and all my teammates in the IGL team. So Lasse, I think, got P3 now, so that's very good.
Thank you very much, Havard. We'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.
So we're going to drag in next up James Barry and JR. James Barry.
James, welcome back to the booth. We appreciate you stopping by to share your thoughts with us as you do when you get up on the podium and other places. So P2 today, looked like you had a little bit of a bog on the start and kind of got swept up in the crowd, but managed to fight your way back. What happened on the start for you?
What happened on the start is Andreas Friedrich has some kind of hacking going on, because I can tell you my start, nothing wrong with my start. No, he got a new wheel recently, and he's found the complete golden ticket to the start. So I can't do anything because I don't have a manual clutch like he does. So I just have to use the button clutch, and I do what I can. But yeah, it was a bit annoying because I wanted to fight for the lead, and because of that I lost a few seconds to Havard. So it was a shame I couldn't challenge him in the end.
It was, and we were keeping an eye on that gap. If you would have had a few more laps, you probably would have caught him. And I don't know how much experience you have on this track, but what were your plans for Havard? Had you been able to catch him?
This is my first week driving the track. like ever. Really good track. Really love driving it. In terms of overtaking, I mean, if you have pretty much equal pace with the guy ahead, then the guy ahead can defend. He can control the situation, because it's really tough to overtake here. So there's not much you can do. But it's also a track where it's easy to make mistakes. So you can just wait for the guy to make a mistake. So I guess that's how it would have been.
Yeah, well, pretty good race. We're watching the replay of the start right now, and he almost ended up in P5 there, just getting swamped on both sides. But a great recovery there, and wow, fantastic. And so looking forward, looks like we are at Sebring next. We were there just last season, so should be fairly fresh. What are your thoughts heading down to Florida?
Yeah, well, we've been doing Sebring every season for the last few seasons, so yeah, very familiar with it and enjoy it a lot. So yeah, it'll be good. Then Nordschleife, Road America, both obviously tracks that we're familiar with here as well in the Radical. So yeah, it'll be hard racing because everyone's going to be very fast at those tracks.
All right, well, fantastic, and we are definitely looking forward to watching those races as you guys put on a great show every week, with this week being no exception at all. So as we wrap up, James, is there anyone you would like to shout out or give thanks to today?
Just shout out everyone who's going to be taking part in the European Championship on Sunday, because yeah, it's very competitive there, and these races are a nice warm up there. So yeah, looking forward to that.
All right, fantastic. Well, thank you. And that is James Berry, our P2. And next we have Lasse Sorensen, who, as Havard said, is his teammate along, I believe, with Mats Strumbach. And so 1, 3, and 4 finish for these three. And Tom, here is Lasse.
Lasse, good job today. 3rd place in the end. Benefited, perhaps, if you don't mind me saying, a little bit from Andreas Frederick having that spin. How confident were you in getting past him, regardless of the spin? Did you feel like you had the pace for that today? As Lasse Sorensen having a little bit of issue with his microphone, I believe. So we'll give him. Hello.
You hear me now? Yeah.
Yep, we hear you. Did you hear the question?
Yeah, I did hear the question. No, I didn't have the pace this week at all. I have the track is brand new for me, and I had 30 laps of practice, so I'm surprised I got P3 in fact.
Yeah, I mean, a P3 on a track you're not comfortable with, on what you'd probably class as a slower weekend for you. Not bad at all, I suppose.
No, I'm very happy. You know, it's a Nürburgring Endurance Championship tomorrow and 24 hours next week, so the focus has been on the P Cup this week. So, yeah, it's
and
get the points.
You said it's a new track. How did you find the new track then, Barber? It is a unique challenge.
Yeah, it's a unique challenge. Not the track itself, because the track is very fun and it's not too technical, but the grip level on the track this week have been Fernando's low. So it's been tricky regarding the grip in the track.
Well, thank you very much, Lasse, for joining us. Anyone you'd like to shout out before we get you, before we round out the stream?
Yeah, of course. You guys for commentating and also do the interviews and streaming the fun of radicals. My teammates, Eagle Coatings and Sander Trafikkskole.
Thank you very much for joining us. We'll speak to you soon.
Thank you so much.
Well, JR, that was thoroughly enjoyable. It's good to be back on the radicals. Some fantastic racing here at Barber. And, well, that's all for me. We can start to round out the stream.
Alrighty. Well, yeah, fantastic show. And thanks to our entire podium stopped by to share their thoughts with us this afternoon. We really appreciate that. And folks, remember, we are not just about these fantastic radicals here on Apex Racing TV. We have got some of the best cars, best tracks, and best esports drivers on YouTube. And we have that 7 days a week this weekend. Sunday, Ray Esports has Weekend Warriors Spec Racer Fords at Phoenix, and Weekend Warriors Formula Ford at Snetterton. Also Sunday, these Radicals are back here at Barber with 2 Radical Sim Racing Championship events, both the U.S. and European Championships. And Monday, we'll start the week off strong with Apex Racing League Sports Cars at the Nürburgring and Rick Matek Sports Car Series, which is a mixed class series, also right back here at Barber. So be sure and subscribe to Apex Racing TV. Hit that notification button so you don't miss any of the action here. And that is going to wrap it up for us today. So I am J.R. Gregory on behalf of Apex Racing TV, on behalf of Tom Dillon and our producer Joshua Wilkie. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a fantastic Friday and an even better weekend.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.